Good afternoon, Florida You Judge viewers and followers. I am waiting for our 4 o'clock guest attorney, Robert Eckard, who is going to be there. He is. He just got on. So we are going to be talking this afternoon. Okay, he's set up. And so let's bring him in. Hi, Robert.
Hey, Edie, sorry I'm late.
You're good. 2 minutes, 3 minutes. That's so. Are you Cuban? Now I lost you. You got to unmute yourself. We are going to be.
My grandfather used to say that if you're not 5 minutes early, then you're late. So I apologize.
You know what? No, you're on Cuban time, so you're good. And you know what that means, right?
Yeah, that means I'm way early.
So right, exactly. So you have to if you wanna. That's right. You're way early. That's what it means. So okay, so good. Thanks for joining me while you're getting set up there. I just want to tell those who are starting to tune in and who will be tuning in again. Heidi Oropesa. In addition to being a criminal defense attorney now for 20 years, I also do like to do some activism, and I like to get politically involved. I think that's very important. My parents fled from Cuba right after Castro took power, and they have instilled in me since I was very young the importance of preserving this wonderful thing that we enjoy here in this country. They were very appreciative of being able to come here to this wonderful country, made it their home, became citizens, and have been forever grateful, thankful for the rights that we enjoy because of what was handed down to us by the founding fathers, by those who fought, shed blood. So and you are have that same spirit. You are a total warrior. I am fortunate to call you a friend, to call you not only that, but more recently, you've agreed. I reached out to you, asked you if you'd be the general counsel for Florida You Judge, and you graciously agreed to do that. Thank you. So very fortunate. And so regularly you're going to come on because I want you to inform the public about issues related to the criminal justice system. You're not only a federal criminal defense attorney, you also do state criminal defense. Before you did so, you were a prosecutor out here in Pinellas County. You're a zealous advocate. I've seen you at in action, and you are quite the impressive legal defense warrior. So we're going to talk about today an issue that is going to be covered, has already been covered a little bit in the media. And I think that there's another media outlet that soon will be reporting a recent case. We're not going to talk about the facts of that case. I want us to generally speak about what happens when somebody calls you, Robert. Tell a little bit about yourself. I want the public to know your background and your experience.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for all those kind words. And it was an honor to be asked to be general counsel to Florida You Judge, because we know the hot topics that this program elicits and the emotions sometimes that go along with it. And I really do I love watching you and your interviews. So I've been practicing law for 22, 23 years now. I am board certified in business litigation by the Florida Bar. Less than 300 lawyers in the state of 103,000 plus lawyers are board certified in business litigation. I also handle government investigations, be it with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Department of Justice, the Federal Trade Commission, any government agency involved in investigations or prosecutions. I have a law degree from Stetson, graduate with honors, and I have an LLM in international law, also from Stetson. So my practice involves business litigation, international law, and government investigations. And many times those three worlds collide when we have businesses that may be accused of doing wrongdoing, or we have clients that are abroad that are engaged in what they believe legal acts or sometimes illegal acts, and may be extradited here to the United States. And that kind of segues into the topic today about voluntary surrenders.
Okay, great. That's excellent segue. So you get a call. Let's do hypotheticals. We learned how to do analysis in law school. through hypotheticals. We were always asked, not given the answer, but asked to think about issues, right? The Socratic method. So we have a hypothetical where somebody thinks that they might be suspected of a crime or about to be charged with a crime, and they think that they might get arrested. They're being investigated. They've already had a knock on the door, so they're suspecting, anticipating, and or that there might be a warrant. They don't know, but whether there is or not, or they anticipate that they will be getting arrested, or that an agency wants to arrest them. Let me ask you this first. This is and I want to, for the viewers, so that they know, the Florida statute 901.15 governs when arrest by an officer without a warrant is lawful. So let me just ask you, based on your experience, can an officer without a warrant, without having to go through the state attorney, then to a judge, expenditure of time, can they arrest on a felony in Florida?
Yes.
Okay. So, and let's just go ahead and share that, because I would like to educate the public. That's a good thing to do. So there you go, folks. If you ever question what when an officer can arrest without a warrant, just go ahead to Florida statute 901.15. Okay, so now here is my next question. So if somebody contacts you and says, Attorney Eckard, I think I'm being investigated, I think there's an imminent arrest coming, what should I do? Give me some advice. Should I turn myself in? Should I wait till the warrant gets executed? How would you possibly advise them?
Well, what I want to first know is, where are you, and is anybody around you? Can they hear you speaking?
No.
Yeah. So what I would want to know is what occurred, and try to get them in to see me as soon as possible. But I would suggest that a self-surrender may be in their best interest. Now, depending upon whether it's a state or federal crime, could have some bearing on it. Maybe not much, but in the federal system, there are certain benefits for sentencing purposes when a defendant or target surrenders. And so it would depend on whether they were a federal fugitive or a state fugitive. But overall, I would suggest that a self-surrender, a walkthrough, if you will, may be in their best interest at the moment. I don't know if you want me to go through the 5 factors that I've listed.
I'm going to list them. I'm going to share that with the public so that they can see that. So let's say there's not a warrant, or that they're suspecting. And as you just stated, a law enforcement agency in Florida, if it's a state case, it's a felony. They have reasonable belief that somebody committed a crime. They can, what if they're offered the ability to self-surrender the person? What do you think is most beneficial for the taxpayer, the public at large? And let's go through some of the factors that you talk about. I'm going to share that right now. Let's just go ahead and do that. If anybody wants to go to your page, your Facebook page, here we go. So let's talk about the first factor, Robert. You first, self-surrender.
Well, I think the first factor, and on this list, is significant, primarily because in the federal system, the Bureau of Prisons ranks your level of security risk differently if you have been a self-surrender defendant. So you may be placed in a low to moderate security facility if, in fact, you self-surrendered. So that is a huge positive, a huge plus for the offender.
All right. I'm sorry. I just got a call there. I wanted to grab that. But okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing, let's talk about, and I'm going to access this through my phone so that I can see it a little bit bigger. But so I'll ask you on the second one, you state that second, it is far better to reach your destination in the comfort of a private vehicle. Okay, so talk about that. The second reason why it's more beneficial to self-surrender versus being taken in unexpectedly by law enforcement.
Well, certainly a party that's got a warrant out for them, be it a domestic warrant, or if they have an Interpol international warrant, which the United States doesn't recognize simply Interpol red dot notice warrants. There has to be more to it. But if, let's say, for instance, the fugitive is a Colombian national or Panamanian national, and that there's a provisional arrest warrant out with a Interpol notice, if the defendant has reached out to me and I have discussed with the law enforcement agency the client's willingness to self-surrender, that means the client gets to fly with me, maybe, or with U.S. DEA or U.S. Marshals on a commercial jet, or maybe a private jet, to get them here to the United States, and they're cooperating. And it's usually, and if it's domestic, that means the self-surrender is on the expense is on the defendant's account. So the government doesn't have to pay for it. And certainly, I joke, but I say that the defendant doesn't have to fly Con Air and stop at every airport or every bus pickup for a defendant that is known to mankind. Not long ago, I represented a defendant living in Orlando who was indicted out of Boston. He was held in contempt of court pending sentencing, and one of the concerns was taking him into custody on the contempt, and the idea was for us to surrender him to the judge in Boston. When we reached out to pretrial services, we recognized that it would have taken anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks for this client of mine to actually get to Boston on a government transport vehicle, it was a bus that he would have been taken on. So 2 to 4 weeks to get to Boston, as compared to, a flight in a matter of hours that he could have appeared in front of a judge.
Let me ask you a question. How many times have in your long career, 23 years, have you been able to accomplish this, where you cooperate with law enforcement to surrender someone peacefully? And what do you think law enforcement prefers, having to spend time looking for somebody, or having a defense attorney contact them to say, here, I want to surrender this individual?
I haven't run the statistics, but I want to say nearly 100% of the time when we're aware of a warrant. Let me back that up. 100% of the time for domestic defendants, not so for international defendants. So nearly 100% of the time, law enforcement and the state attorney or the U.S. attorney, they are in agreement to having the client self-surrender. It gets a little stickier when you're dealing with a international fugitive in another country, but yeah, the majority, if not all the time, law enforcement prefers it. And it gets into one of my other factors. There's a safety factor involved here, that it's much safer for everyone involved to have the defendant self-surrender as compared to law enforcement executing a warrant on a location where there may be innocent parties, an unknown behind that door. It's a riskier endeavor.
So it's not only safe for the law enforcement, who the public has an interest in protecting, but also civilians.
Yeah, and we've seen cases where law enforcement has gone in and attempt to execute a warrant and unknown to the defendant, and they bust the door down. And states like here in Florida, where 1 in 3 people have a concealed weapon permit, and maybe half or more people have guns in their homes. Somebody breaks in your house, chances are that person's going to start shooting, and law enforcement's going to start shooting back. And there could be children in the house, innocent people in the house, something that could have been very handled very differently.
Okay, so let's say law enforcement one day reaches out to you, and it might seem like a redundant question, but they tell you, what should we do? Should we allow for self-surrender? Listen, I don't even think they would have to reach out to seek advice for you. Do you think that any law enforcement head, generally, as you said, 100% domestically, it's an offer that you shouldn't refuse, to surrender someone safely and peacefully. Yes.
Uh, yes. Many times in handling international narco trafficking cases, we'll see a provisional arrest warrant, often called a PAW, that is used to it's sent to the let's say the Attorney General of Colombia, along with the indictment, and they require a certification backed by the United States that the crime that the defendant, Colombia, the Colombian national, for instance, is being sought, will not be sentenced to life or death. And so long as the Attorney General in Colombia gets that certification from the U.S. Attorney here in the United States, they will give effect to that provisional arrest warrant, which is which is signed by a U.S. district judge here in the United States, and they will then have a warrant now effectively for that national within that country. And when I'm involved and have contact with that national, many times, if not all times, law enforcement says, let's do this the easy way. Because from an international perspective, once a defendant is picked up, and let me give you an example again from dealing with narco trafficking and money laundering in Colombia. Once that defendant is picked up by the Colombian National Police, the CNP, that defendant is going to be taken into custody and put in probably La Picota Federal Prison in Bogota and sit there and wait for extradition to happen. As compared to if they self-surrender, they can be on a plane and they can be here in the United States rather quickly. So it's a much easier, cleaner, smoother transaction, less dangerous, more efficient. And I think all parties, including the judge, favors it.
Right. Well, in the scenario where someone is pre-warrant being issued, offering to surrender, then that frees up time from the state attorney and a judge in having to do all the work to prepare a warrant and to have a judge spend time signing a warrant. Yes?
Yes. Several years ago, I represented a member of the Teamsters Union, and the U.S. government did not know where this person was. And as you know, in the federal system, they don't unseal indictments until after the defendant is taken into custody. This was a rare situation where the U.S. Attorney's Office and FBI out of Atlanta provided me with a copy of the indictment with the permission of the court to show me that this person was wanted, even though he had no idea that an indictment had been filed. But if a person can surrender before a warrant and before the state attorney's office gets involved, that's certainly, I think, a showing of responsibility for the client, and it puts him or her at less risk and saves significant taxpayer money.
Right. So, and not only the law enforcement agencies are looked upon, part of what their role is to keep the peace. Yes?
I would agree, unless you live in Portland.
Okay. And with everything that we're seeing continually now, the headlines with George Floyd, others that have been killed at the hands of law enforcement, whether justified or not, we see that there's regularity with the headlines, and that as a result, recently we've had civil unrest. That's never good for a city, for any jurisdiction when that happens. So circling back again to one of the factors that you say, that this is a more prudent way to resolve an arrest, surrendering the person peacefully, when that's not the route that a law enforcement agency takes when it's being offered. And as you've stated, how it could result in lives being tragically lost or somebody being seriously injured, whether it's law enforcement because they come upon somebody at a very not ideal time, or a civilian. and then there's unrest that then the taxpayers who already did not benefit from somebody making a decision of not wasting those resources so that those resources could be freed up for doing other public safety endeavors. That's another important reason why maybe allowing someone to peacefully surrender should be the course of action that law enforcement agencies take. Yes or no?
I agree with you. And as you were speaking, I was thinking, there could be situations where law enforcement needs the element of surprise for purposes of apprehending a target, a defendant that may be capable of fleeing the jurisdiction or not likely to be apprehended safely. So, I understand that there is that aspect of law enforcement that they do need that element of surprise.
Okay, so in all the years that you've been defending criminal cases, what is generally the response when you reach out on behalf of a client that's reached out to you and now you're representing them? We all know that it's one of the basic criminal defense 101. You shouldn't speak without an attorney. That's a constitutional right. You have a right to remain silent, and it's prudent, even when you're not guilty, to get a lawyer to represent your interests, your rights. When you reach out during the investigative phase, prior to even any charges being filed or anything, and you reach out to a law enforcement, a detective that's investigating, that's reached out to an attorney, when you call, what's usually the response? Do you get callbacks, Robert?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Have you ever had a situation where they ignore you and don't call you back in your 23 years? I can't remember one in the 20 years that I've been practicing, except a recent one that I will comment about in the near future. I've never had a detective, even listen, sometimes they call and they're not incredibly happy about that. Somebody that they were investigating decided to assert their right to not speak until they seek the advice and counsel of an attorney. They're not incredibly ecstatic about that when a lawyer gets involved. Sometimes it is what it is and they're professional. But I can't think of one time in the 20 years that I've done criminal defense other than one recent moment. Then when that's happened, has it ever happened to you that you can recall?
No, and I'll just preface it with the call may have taken a few days to get back to me because maybe the agent was what I call downrange down in South America or was on leave or something. But I can't recall an instance where I have never received a call back when there's a person that was sought by law enforcement to be arrested or a warrant was going to be executed or taken into custody.
Okay. Thank you so much. We have a couple of minutes. It's 4:25. We started at 4:03. We'll stay on for 5 more minutes. If anyone wants to call and take advantage of this incredible attorney. This is somebody that I seek as a mentor. He's been a mentor to me, an incredible friend and colleague, and he's incredibly brilliant. So if you want to call in, 813-221-9700 is the call number. For the remaining 4 minutes, he's going to come on regularly to give of his time and his expertise and inform the public. These are important issues that you should know about. Robert, where can people contact you directly to seek a consultation on the various areas that you practice in? Well,
they can call my office here in Palm Harbor, just north of Clearwater, Florida, at 727-772-1941, or my email, Robert Eckard, just like it's on the screen, Robert at roberteckardlaw.com, or go onto my website at www.roberteckardlaw.com. Pretty easy to find. And I pride myself on returning calls and getting back to folks within 24 hours, if not sooner, because I recognize the urgency and need and the concern folks have when they may have a sensitive issue such as this arise.
So is this your website, Robert Eckard? Let me put that in another way so that it looks better. So Is it roberteckardlaw.com?
It's www.roberteckardlaw.com. That's it.
Okay, let me see here. Robert Eckard. It's www.roberteckardlaw.com. www.roberteckardlaw.com. Again, you can reach his office to speak, to get a consultation with Robert at 727-772-1941. This guy's amazing. He's a beast. This guy's a beast. He's a warrior. He will not sell you out. You know what? He's very respected by the powers that be, but he throws down, he fights, and he is very zealous, and he's amazing. Thank you. Yes, you
can take the kid out of New York, but you can't take the New York out of the kid.
There you go. You are awesome, and I am so happy, elated that you are general counsel for Florida U Judge. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Rady. Thank you for this forum, this platform, and you do an amazing job.
You too, sir. Thank you so much for coming on. We will chat soon. Bye. Have a great day. Yep.